Q, license as a entity, managing broker or a corporation can hold a broker's license. This is what we were just talking about with a Real Estate Monkey LLC, which is a real company, by the way. Right? It's not fictitious. Sounds fictitious, but it's real. They can have a corporation. If your real estate company, finger quote, is a corporation, then the managing broker must be designated as the individual broker. That's the one that represents them. Must be an officer in the corporation. It must be the highest ranking officer that can bind the corporation to a decision. So you can have a real estate corporation be the managing broker. They will appoint what they call an individual broker to act as, finger quotes, managing broker. That's what happens with me. They must make sure that everyone who acts as a broker is licensed and supervised by a broker or a branch manager. So I'm responsible for all my agents to make sure they have a broker's license. I have to apply for the corporate license and pay for the fee. So when you guys are complaining about your $60 licensing fee that you pay, I pay a $60 fee for me, and then I pay one for the Real Estate Monkey LLC as well. It needs a license. It will expire June 30th of the year prescribed by the commission. Looks like there's one missing. Number 2 is for a partnership. If it is a legal partnership that gets joined together, remember you got limited partner and general partner, all people that are in the partners must be licensed. In the corporation, only the highest ranking official has to be. You could have owners of a corporation not all be licensed. In a partnership, they all have to be licensed. At least one of those partners has to be a resident of Indiana, and they are the ones that are named as the managing broker for the partnership. And then everything else applies as above. Have to pay for the license. It expires on June the 30th. They have to make sure that everybody that's acting as a broker is licensed, all of the same stuff. Managing brokers are responsible for the main office and all the branch offices that have to be managed by another broker. I must maintain a list of all the people that are affiliated with me and to which office they belong, which we are now still allowed to use the internet to do this. I cannot associate with unlicensed people. Sorry, I can't talk to you. No, what that means is I'm not allowed to let unlicensed people do license required activities. Certainly I can have unlicensed people in my company. Have one now. But she is not allowed to do licensed activity. All right? I am responsible for all you guys' actions. You guys get me in trouble. They call us both the commission. Only one of us may show up. I don't know where he's at. Snitches get stitches. And I must ensure that compliance with my firm, with all of the license laws, as well as all of the other business laws that are there. I must establish and maintain at least one escrow account. I have to identify the escrow account as being a trust. Mine is labeled Real Estate Monkey LLC, general account, Real Estate Monkey LLC, escrow account. I have to maintain an accurate file, online banking now. Tells you what those records have to count. It's amazing how they create laws and now technology has kind of bypassed a lot of this. We had to used to keep a ledger. Now, with all of the online banking, it's right there. There was a rule that said in the ledger you had to make sure that you kept their name, the party, the deposit, the date. Online banking has all of that for you. You must deposit all of the earnest money within 2 banking days. I'm telling you now, listen up. For those of you at home not paying attention, sleeping, it's banking days. They love this question on the exam. It is not business days. It is not calendar days. Let me give you a good example. Columbus Day. Bank was off. But most everybody worked. All right? Now, I said something earlier, and I don't want you to confuse this. This is after I receive the earnest money. All right? In the new way we do earnest money we were just talking about, now in our purchase agreement it says, if you accept this, I promise to give the earnest money to you within 3 days. That's fine. That's not what this rule is talking about. What this rule is talking about is once they give it to me as the managing broker, I can only let that money lay on my desk for 2 banking days. It's got to be in the bank. All right? You get this all the time. People go, well, you cash my earnest money. Well, first of all, duh, yes, but I didn't really cash it. I just put it into my account so that we can control the money. All right? You hear old timers. We just had one, believe it or not, 3 weeks ago come in and go, you cashed my client's account. This agent was probably about 187 years old. They said, yeah, we put it in our, oh, well, we just normally stick it in our desk drawer. That may have been old school, and that was very common. They would just hold the check. Not anymore. It's got to be in deposit within 2 banking days. Number 6 says, I can delegate anybody to hold the earnest money. One of our agents really likes the title company to hold it. That way you don't have to deal with it. The commission will hold whoever's named responsible. So if the earnest money disappears, whoever was named in the purchase agreement to hold it, that's who's liable. Number 9 says, I can collect earnest or interest, but I have to pay it out to the people that deserve it. This is a common one that most brokers are going, you can't earn interest on your earnest money. It's not true. You can. You just can't keep it. But here's the problem. I end up with John putting $500 in, so he gets all the interest for 3 days. And, and then Paula comes in and brings me $750 for her deal, so now she gets 3/12 of the money for 10 days. Then he takes his out, and you add your $3,000 in, and now I got to, what the hell, where am I at? Okay, it's easier to go no interest, all right? And that's typically what happens. No interest money earned. Now, it's funny, there's a girl from Washington State was in here getting her license, and she said in Washington State it's required by state law to pay interest. She said, we're holding money, got to pay the interest. So it wasn't uncommon, she said, for somebody to write a $500 earnest money check, and at closing they get credit for $500.06. So, boy, I bet the accountants would love that. All right?
So is your trust account, can you open a trust account that earns interest?
Yes.
And if you do earn interest, you have to pay it, so you'd rather open an account that doesn't
Right.
earn interest? Okay.
Because of
you
the...
just open it and just say, hey, this deal is no interest earned, but I'm going to earn the interest on this account.
You cannot.
Okay. It's a fee for holding your money.
You cannot earn the interest.
Okay, I got you.
Or you cannot keep the interest that's earned. All right? Now, there is a thing on our purchase agreement that if the buyer agrees to have the interest earned donated to a nonprofit, which we have like INHP or any of some of the buyers' help, you can do that. All right? If that happens, I would suggest you open a second earnest money account because, if you'll notice, that law says we must have at least one. It did not say maximum. Some brokers have one for residential and one for commercial. All right? So if your the buyer says yes, and I want to take the interest and donate it to a charity that gets earned, that's fine. I'm opening a separate account for you, and when you close, we'll just close that account. That way, all the earnest money and the interest that's earned is yours. Because otherwise, I have to go through that example I just showed you, where you had half the money for 10 days, and now you've only got, so I can't calculate all that. Number 10 says, in the death of the managing broker, they will assign a successor trustee to take over, which we know that now won't happen, but that rule's on the book. Upon request, I have to provide those books to the commission. Remember, I told you they have the right to inspect the records. They come in here to look for something. They may say, hey, while we're here, let's look at your earnest money account. Number 12, we can accept other stuff as earnest as long as the buyer and seller agree. We held the title to a Lincoln Navigator on one deal. Guy didn't have any money. He gave the free and clear title, the seller. We kept it in the safe. At the day of closing, we gave him the title back to the Lincoln Navigator. So it can be done. What's it called if I put my money or earnest money into my account? Commingling. Keep that in mind. If I use it, then it's conversion. 13 is what we call the 60-day rule. There's one of my old favorite proverbs by, what's his name? Buddha? That's not it. Yeah. To make no decision is a decision. It's an old Chinese saying. To make no decision is a decision. All right? So number 13 solves that problem. Right? Here's the problem. You give me earnest money for the deal doesn't close, and you say, I want my earnest money back, and I say, I'm keeping the earnest money. We could argue that forever, and while arguing it, what happens to the earnest money? Nobody's getting it, right? Because it's sitting in the bank, and we're arguing over it 20 years. To make no decision is a decision. By default, everybody. So what they've created this thing called their 60-day letter that says this. I will write a letter and send it, because I'm holding the earnest money. I would write a letter to you, certified mail, telling you what I think the contract says and what I'm going to do with the earnest money should you not respond. You have 60 days to respond to that certified letter. And your response is one of three things. Either yes, you agree and finally say, yeah, you can have it. Or you do nothing, and if you do nothing and don't respond, then I do what I said I'm going to do in the letter. Your only valid legal response after that is to initiate a court action and let the judge tell us. That way it will be resolved one way or the other. Either you agree to let us keep it, you go to court, or you do nothing. By default, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. All right? So this will stop any of that conversation about what's going on. Everybody get that? All right. Enforcement. The commission will investigate allegations against somebody. They will randomly audit continuing ed, which I just told you. They will, when you go to renew your license, all you do is check a box that says, yes, I did it. They run a lottery. You hit the lottery, they'll call you and say, you said yes, show me. All right? They don't randomly do other investigations, but they will follow up on complaints or consumer questions or law enforcement officials that come in and say there was an issue. Or if I submit a motion to the state saying I think this person's doing something. Investigations are not randomly undertaken. They just don't walk in and go, show me the last 8 deals. There is no police. They do have a fund to pay the people that come and investigate, and I think it's a $20 fee that you will pay every 3 years or something, so that pays this person to come in and do the investigation. Now, here we go. Here are the incompetent practices I talked about earlier. We're going to cover these in this section. Let's change audio files for that information.